Hey folks, I'm Coach Mike. This is the MDM Show, courtesy of MDM Canada Multimedia Group, and also sponsored by MDM Life Architects, where we build better bodies and create better lives through the Life After Sport Playbook. So we got that all out of the way. We have a special celebrity guest here today. So we're very lucky to have Sherry Strong here today. I met Sherry a few years back, actually a while back. I'll see if I can bring up a picture of us back here. It was at one of her nutrition clinics where she was the nutritionist to Olympic gold medalist Theo Fleury and NHL player Theo Fleury and Brett Wilson from the Dragons Den. That's us there, like many years back. So Sherry's a very highfalutin person. So I'll see if I can read what's going on. Sherry is a food philosopher, artist, chef, nutritionist, the former Victorian Chair of Nutrition Australia, and Melbourne president of Slow Food and author of Sweet Freedom, 21 Days Sugar-Free Challenge, and the book Return to Food. How going back is the way forward based on her philosophies of how the human species is designed to eat. She sat on boards that consulted to the Australian government on public health policy. She was a highly regarded instructor at the Institute of Holistic Nutrition and a keynote speaker at the Canadian School of Natural Nutrition Alumni Association Conference. She has owned 2 holistic cooking schools in Melbourne, Australia, and in Vancouver, Canada. Sherry's philosophy is about understanding how the human species is designed to eat on a diverse planet. She showcased one of her philosophies in the consumption concept from her book, Return to Food, the life-changing anti-diet at TEDx Tokyo in 2009, which has nearly had close to 1 million views so far, guys. Sherry was the well-being director to the Sustainable Women's Business Conference, Jamie Oliver's 15 Foundation, the Reach Foundation, and was the curator and co-founder of the World Wellness Project Summit. Sherry was a frequent guest on radio, TV, and spoke at numerous food and nutrition events throughout Australia, North America, and New Zealand. So we're going to see if we can get a clip of her at the TEDx show. See if my guys can get this here. We get a clip of Sherry at the TEDx show, which would be pretty cool. See if we can get that. So there's Sherry. She's behind the scenes. See if we can get her behind the scenes here now. So I hear she's here. So see if we can get her here. Cool. There she is. Hi, Sherry. How's it going? Good to see you.
Good to see you too, Mike. That was a while ago, that picture that
Yeah.
you put there. Yeah. Yeah. Thanks for sharing all of that information. It's kind of cool to be reminded of all the yeah, interesting things that have happened in my life. Thanks.
Yeah. You've done a lot of good stuff. So it's exciting to have you here to have a little discussion about food and everything it can do for you and against you, depending on what you're having and what you're eating.
Yeah.
So do you mind sharing your origin story of how this all started and everything, not everything you've gone through, obviously, but where it started, how you got introduced to being a nutritionist in food and then kind of where you are today?
Yeah. Like most people, you teach what you most need to learn. And I grew up in the culinary and nutritional equivalent to a gastronomic black hole. So seriously bad food, baby formula from birth, which we now know has what I call the lethal recipe. So refined sugars, oils, salts, grains, chemicals, and things that were never designed for the human body. But my mom, like many naive young mothers, had the white coat syndrome and believed the doctors and nurses who had convinced her that this new baby formula was far superior to anything that came out of a woman's breast. And in fact, she was actually shamed like terribly by a
Wow.
nurse. She was breastfeeding one of my sisters. And so when it came to me, she thought she'd do the right thing and give me baby formula. And like many people who start their life out on baby formula, and I'm not trying to shame any mothers because every mother does, the best they can with the resources they have. And they were severely misled and are still being severely misled. And it starts a baby off with malnutrition to begin with. You're not getting,
Mhm.
the vital compounds that are designed specifically for their baby. And you're getting toxic addictive substances. You're starting off right from the gate with toxins and addictive substances that sets you up for a life
Wow.
of if you don't reverse that, and stop the poisoning and start the healing, it sets you up for a lifetime of disease and health issues. And even if you have just the most amazing genetics in the world, it sets you up for just being behind the eight ball. Like you're not functioning as an optimal human being when you're not feeding it what it needs. So my life started with sugar addiction, which manifested in health issues and um, severe depression. So, like not wanting to be here kind of level of depression as a teen.
Wow.
And at one point, when I moved to Australia, I was in a situation, I was a new resident to a country, not having friends and family there, the networks. And I actually ate my way into being twice my size. So I like to joke and say not 10'4", haven't had a height reduction. But I was starting off the morning with half a liter of Sara Lee ultra chocolate ice cream. And I
Wow.
didn't stop eating.
That's
I know you're
ridiculous.
saying, wow, how did you stop at half a liter? Right? Yeah.
Yeah, I used to eat yeah, a tub, 2, 4 liters of it. Yeah, it's ridiculous. You just keep shoveling it
Yeah.
in,
Yeah. And
and then
then,
you're like,
so I was,
"Ugh."
yeah, I was definitely pre-diabetic, had again lots of health issues. And what the probably the biggest thing, including depression, is I was in a sugar coma. Like, so I would sleep for 8 to 10 hours and feel like I needed another 8 to 10 hours sleep. You could not get enough sleep to compensate for the poisons and the toxins flooding your body. So low energy. And I had my holistic cooking school at that time. So the irony of teaching holistic cooking classes while, eating ice cream for breakfast was not lost on me. But there was
Yeah.
something within me that just said, keep going. And as I started to prepare these healthy recipes, and started to help other people improve their health, it lifted me up. There's that expression, a higher tide floats all boats. So I began to teach before I had it all worked out. But in the process of teaching and working with people, I started to understand that number one, the whole kind of nutritional industry is an industry. It's not necessarily set up truly to help us.
Yeah.
A lot of money to be made on you know helping people nutritionally, and most of that information, certainly when I was, at that time in my life, I was studying at Deakin University in Melbourne, and I just found it was a scam. Like it was
Mhm.
literally just set up to feed people in the food industry to sell products. It was not about really figuring out what it is we're meant to eat as the human species. And so I figured out I would get like lines through my papers that I would write, and they didn't even bother to check my references. And I thought, in order for me to get a degree, I'm going to have to lie my way through
Yeah.
through
Which is
this and sell out my soul. That's what it felt like to me.
yep.
Just
Mhm.
basically parrot what they wanted me to hear, or them to hear. So I stopped, and I actually went on a journey to really study the healthiest cultures on the planet, and start to understand how the human species is meant to eat. And through that, I started to notice a change in my clients, because I wasn't just saying, eat this, don't eat that. I was showing them how to prepare it. And just that
Mhm.
act of helping them prepare their own food changed their relationship with food, and it changed their health too. Then I started to help them understand that how we're meant to eat, from philosophies that I developed and taught that actually reach into your DNA, and you just go, "Yeah, that's it. It makes sense."
Yeah.
And what it does is it cuts through so much nutritional confusion and propaganda, really. There's a ton of nutritional propaganda, which is designed to confuse us because in
Yeah.
a place of confusion, a confused mind doesn't decide. It just says, it looks to the expert and the expert says, whatever. And you just say, tell me what to eat, tell me what to do, because I don't know. When the truth is that it's encoded in our DNA and we just have to
Hmm.
be reminded. So I noticed that they had another level of success, but it wasn't until I started to work on a concept I call hypernourishment, where I started to notice with clients that they weren't just toxic physically. They didn't just need nourishment physically. They needed to detox mentally, emotionally, spiritually, and
Hmm.
nourish mentally, emotionally, spiritually. And when I started to get them to do that work, so I don't heal anything. Just
Wow.
see, any good healer will tell you that you don't
Yeah.
heal anything. You just become a way shower, a guide, so
Hmm.
people can actually tap into their own intuition and their own body's knowing, right? And so I'll give you an example. I have a client right now that I'm doing a lifestyle makeover and and just like I did with Brett and Theo.
Yeah.
And she was saying, the nutritional, she had two different nutritional diagnoses, where they do these, you send your blood samples and they do these very complex tests. And one said she couldn't have rye, and then the company she was, dealing with that help with these detoxes said, "No, no, no, you need this test because it's far more comprehensive." And so she did that one, and it said she could have rye, but she said, "I know when I have rye, it doesn't react well in
Oh
my
yeah.
body." And this is what we need to teach people, is that your body is the most accurate
Hmm.
scientific piece of equipment for your body. You just have
Yeah.
to tap into the knowing and start listening to your body. So my path really was, I can't say self-taught because I believe we learn from everyone else, but I did ask for guidance. I did ask for way showing from what I believe is our higher power. And
Yeah.
that's when I was actually, I downloaded these philosophies that I teach, that when people hear them, even when children hear them, they get it. And if you really digest and absorb these philosophies, which I believe are encoded in our DNA, you don't need all this nutritional mumbo jumbo and exhaustive testing and very expensive equipment. I downloaded a protocol from someone who was on the internet. They he was a chiropractic doctor who healed his brain tumor, and he said, "I'm happy to give you my protocol." So I looked at it. Well, it's like 80 pages, and to implement what he implemented would cost you about $10,000 a month.
Wow.
Now, if you have a life-threatening disease or condition and you have the money to do it, that's great, fine. No judgment there. But most of us don't have that. Most of us
Hmm.
don't have those resources. And what I'm a big advocate and proponent of is, if we just stop poisoning our bodies and we give it the nourishment it needs, miracles. Our bodies are absolute healing machines.
Yeah.
And
That's
yeah.
how we're made. I don't
Yeah.
understand. Well, I kind of understand why. Like, if you walk into a grocery store, what percentage would you say is actual, like, real food that your body recognizes to use? If you walk
Yeah.
into a grocery store, like, I don't understand. Like, it's all money and greed and politics and all that, but yeah, why don't people, are the people so poisoned that they don't consciously know, or they're not aware that they are being poisoned by everything they eat?
Yeah. It's the frog in the boiling water thing. It's that you're
Yeah.
so acclimated to these foods that you don't notice how toxic the body is. And then if the body is toxic, you're absolutely right. The brain's not working properly.
No. Yeah, no.
So
Yeah.
to make critical decisions, critical thinking, and we've had decades and decades, if not centuries, of brainwashing into this white coat, syndrome, where we
Mhm.
defer and abdicate our own personal responsibility and say, you just tell me what to do and I'll do it. And I understand the temptation for that. I understand the place for that, but nothing takes the place of personal responsibility and taking our power back.
Hmm. I think in my experience with people, even with myself, the addiction, 'cause it's the addiction, and then the mind programming is so strong.
Yeah.
Even with myself, it's hard to kind of get out of those patterns that we've implemented into ourself. And for how do people get out of those patterns, like mentally, emotionally, spiritually, physically, with the food, and then like how long does that take, and how can people go about doing that, Sherry?
Well, it depends how ready you are. That's
Yeah.
what I notice is that, I had a woman recently, she said, I downloaded your ebook, your 21-day challenge, and I've lost 40 pounds in 6 months and kept it off, still like losing the weight.
Hmm.
And I said, great work, good on you, and then she went to compliment me and I said, but here's the thing, the book was the catalyst, you know,
Hmm.
but it only worked because you were ready and you were willing to put in the work.
Hmm.
So what happens though is so many times people have failed or people fill up their lives. They're so busy that the concept of actually sourcing and preparing good food becomes overwhelming for them. I get
Hmm.
that. Um, and if you don't have the resource, if you have the resources, you can hire someone like me who can, help you out with that or train your chef. But the reality is for most of us, we have to actually take responsibility and start to do that. And when you're ready, it becomes really easy. The difficult part is when you have that hesitancy or you've tried things and you've failed and you've got this kind of back history and pattern of, well, I tried that, it didn't work. I tried that, it didn't work. Or people try things, for a period of time, and they're not getting the result. They're not seeing or getting the results that they think they should have. So an example is if someone's working out, you would have seen this. A woman might be losing fat and gaining muscle
Hmm.
and still looking at the scale.
Hmm.
It's
Yeah.
dependent
Yeah.
her
Enough.
health, right?
Hmm.
Okay, so there's lots of ways that and for some people are so toxic, they actually have to be able to release those toxins before the body will let go of the fat cells. Because one of the things that, particularly as you know, in the last 5 years, we've been exposed to more toxins in many ways, right, than ever. And this is the one instance where I'll say your fat is actually protection for you, is because the body creates fat cells to store excess toxins away from the vital organs, right? So if you have a super low body fat and you're pumping toxins into your body, where is it going? It's going into your vital organs, which is why we saw so many elite athletes dropping in the last 5 years, is because they were such fine-tuned, lean machines. When
Hmm.
really toxic substances entered their body, it only had, one place to go. So we have to understand that for some bodies that are so toxic, we need to actually go through a process. I call it, it's something I use in the clean blood protocol, which I've created. And I get people to, number one, understand the significance of cleaning up your blood. Number two, I get you to stop poisoning yourself. So I work with something, the replace principle, and I get people not just their food. I'm talking about everything that touches your hair, your skin, that goes in, and around your body in your home, including air fresheners. I get you to stop poisoning yourself on, like, go through the whole house. That's when I do the lifestyle makers. That's what I
Yeah.
really concentrate on first, because it doesn't matter what supplements you have or how good your diet is or how much you're moving your body. If you're still poisoning yourself, you're throwing a lot of money away, right?
Hmm.
You might get a benefit, and chances are a lot of people will feel a benefit if they supplement or take certain things or do certain things to prompt the healing process. But you're never going to heal as well if you don't stop poisoning yourself.
Hmm.
So then I get people to start with a gentle cleansing. And what happens with the gentle cleansing is it starts to gently move your body. It's not a full-on detox, but what it's doing is it's softening the process and getting your body ready to detox. And we do that through nourishment, right? We do that primarily through nourishment and hydration, proper hydration, that kind of thing. And then, we get them to start to hypernourish. And as we move through this process of removing toxicity mentally, emotionally, spiritually, as well as the physical, it sets you up stronger mentally, emotionally, spiritually, and physically to then make those changes that are actually going to detox the body and strengthen you and, get you back to a stage where the environment within your body, the terrain, is set up for healing.
Hmm. You almost feel like a superhero, like, because you have to do basically the opposite of what 90 to 95% of the general population is doing. And then once you do this whole process, because I've done it a couple times, but it's hard for me to sustain it for whatever reason it might be, self-sabotaging. But you feel like
Yeah.
you feel like no one, you feel like you have so much energy, your mind's so clear, you can get things done so quickly, things just come to you, you don't have to think about it. And then it's like, it's amazing. The feeling, like the actual energy feeling you get when you do exactly what you just said is like amazing. Yeah.
Yeah.
I wish everybody would be able
Yeah.
to like to do it. And people, do you find people know that they're being poisoned? Like, do they even know that they're being poisoned on a regular basis with about the majority of the stuff that they eat and in their
Yeah.
home?
I think some people absolutely know it. Some people suspect it but don't want to know it, so they don't investigate. And there are, for the majority of people, it's cognitive dissonance because knowing it means change,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
If I know this, life as I know it changes. Those security blankets of what we eat and drink or watch and consume, we know, if we really know how toxic that is, how do we do life
Hmm.
without those things that numb us, that dumb us down? And there's a, protective element of being dumbed down around the difficult world we're living in.
Yeah.
It's this problem is that when you do that and you numb and you weaken your body, whatever difficulties you're dealing with actually become harder
Hmm.
to deal with, because you're now in a vessel that is requiring more effort and work, and it's not cleansing and it's not sleeping well. And so, yeah, just it's choose your heart is the expression to use.
Hmm.
Yeah, choose your heart. Yeah.
So, what types of things do you use with people? That because you do the food, and then that's
Mhm.
a whole process. But mentally, how do you deprogram that someone that's been programmed mentally just like ridiculous? How do you deprogram then reprogram them mentally? Plus, getting them to be in charge of their emotions to even know their emotional triggers and to be able to like
Yeah.
be in charge of their emotions plus their spirit. How do you get people to like baby step into all those different realms if they're not even thinking about
Yeah.
those to begin with?
It's a process. It's not something that happens in 7 days, right?
Yeah.
And if you've programmed and you have habituated a way of being for 40 years, I have seen miraculous turnarounds from people who are so incredibly motivated.
Hmm.
They've reached this place of where they're just so fed up with having this chronic pain or conditions, or just the threat and the fear of death, right? Fear
Yeah.
of and pain. But what happens is, if they don't do that kind of inner work, the hypernourishment work, um, and they don't do it kind of properly, once the threat is gone, once the chronic condition is gone, once the pain's gone, people usually just revert to the very patterns and behaviors that created the problem in the first place.
Hmm.
So you have to go to source. And the other piece is that you have to have patience and grace to understand, I didn't create this problem, overnight. I'm not going to solve it overnight.
Hmm.
And you just go on the path. But what I will tell anyone who's considering this is, I've seen miraculous turnarounds in people in 7 days. So I've worked with clients who they were diabetic, and after 7 days they didn't need their insulin. I'm not saying that everyone has that or can do that.
Yeah.
Depending on the motivation, the level and depth of the toxicity that's within your body. When you are ready, when you're willing to actually do the work instead of just take the shortcut, the pill and potion path, wh- pill and potion path, it's always a Band-Aid. It's always temporary.
Yeah.
And what I notice with most of them, particularly if people are using pharmaceutical drugs to reverse, cancers and things like that, is that it may take you out of harm's way temporarily, but if you don't change the thing that created the
The
problem,
root. Yeah.
the source, it's only a matter of time before either that comes back or something else is triggered, right?
Hmm.
Because the pharmakia that we know about might deal with one symptom, maybe a couple symptoms, but it creates more problems. And that's, it has a verified business model based on that.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I can't even believe that they allow that to go. Like, how do they even allow that to happen? Like, you again, I look at the grocery store, or the pharmaceutical, the pharmacy. You walk in there, it's like this is legal to sell all this stuff to the people. Like, do you ever see a change where like the majority of the stuff in the grocery store will be like really, 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 really good for you, and then it'll just be like maybe it'll be flipped on its edge where 95% is all good and you have 5% not good. Do you see how we can go about doing that?
Well, we see there are supermarkets or markets. I won't say they're super. They're natural food markets
Yeah.
that are making that change. But here's the thing: until we, as the consumer, demand that change, massively, it's not going to change. And that changes because we change our terrain, which changes our palate, which changes our cravings, and we get addicted to feeling good. I had a client yesterday. I was doing her live blood, her second after she implemented some changes after about 6 or 7 weeks. And she did my Sweet Freedom program earlier in the year, um, for sugar addiction and junk food addiction. And she said to me, "I remember you saying to me," her name's Lydia. She's 73 and she's
Wow.
just an amazing woman. She said, "I remember you saying to me that going the drive-bys, it's not a matter of self-control. It literally isn't tempting for you." She
Hmm.
said, "And I just could never imagine that." She said, "I get it now. Like I drive by them and it's just I'm not tempted by it." She used to have like a dark chocolate bar every night, and now she has these nut pucks, this recipe that I have. She has like 2 little nut pucks, and it's more than enough. And she said, I just don't crave the other. And she said, "This was a lifelong habit that I never thought that I could give up." And here, what you said is actually true. So when we change the terrain of the body, when we stop giving it the addictive substances, when we swap it for natural versions, healthy versions of it,
Yeah.
your palate, you can develop a palate for anything, right? Gefilte fish, right? That if anything doesn't tell me you can develop a palate for anything, that's it, right? Um, so it's what we're exposed to, what we get used to, what the terrain in our body actually craves. And this is the cool thing is everyone's on about parasites. And yes, parasites are an issue, right now, but mostly because we're eating and living in a way that makes the parasites out of balance. That it's not like there's no such thing as a parasite completely free body. Like there's no such thing as a body that's totally free of cancer. We all have cancer cells. We all have candida. These things only become a problem is when we live and treat our body in a way that they become like party town
Keep feeding
for
them.
the
Yeah,
parasites,
we keep.
party town for cancer, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And so if we actually get the terrain of our body in balance, we find that all these other things come, into balance within our body. And that, you're never going to get rid of the common cold and you're never going to get rid of cancer in the body because it's how the body actually cleans up. It is a cleansing mechanism. It's a protective mechanism of the body. So this whole thing about F cancer, and curing the common cold is just a product of, the germ theory industry
Hmm.
that's built off of that, trying to convince you to go to war with your body. And what we really need to do is to find a path to peace with our body and to harness the incredible tools we have within a natural environment that also tend to be a lot cheaper.
Yeah.
um, yeah, so and when we do that, we can actually bring our bodies into balance, and that's where healing begins. And that's where in your line of work, athletes can actually get their optimal function is because they're harnessing, the
Hmm.
greatest power is a healed, strong body.
Yeah. Yeah. Because I've only again I'm a little bit I'm toxic right now because I know I'm not healthy, as healthy as I could be or should be. But I remember when I did it, like everything just worked like so optimally, and I wish that
Mm,
everybody can like experience that because I don't even know if people realize that they can actually be alive. Like everything can
mm,
work so good if you do all the things that you're supposed to do for your mind and your body and your emotions and your spirit and everything. Yeah, it is.
yeah.
What about?
And
Go ahead.
oh, sorry. I was just gonna say on that, Mike, I'm by no means perfect.
No.
So I think people think they have to do all or nothing,
Yeah.
um, and the all or nothing is waiting for a time when I feel like it, when I feel up to it. And I encourage people to just start wherever you are and just even do one thing. You will notice, like I've had a client in Australia who lost 14 pounds just by stop drinking. He stopped drinking soft drinks with artificial sweeteners in it. Lost 14 pounds in
Wow.
a matter of a couple of months, right? Because what happens again is the fat cells are created to store excess toxins away from vital organs. You start to stop poisoning yourself, and fat cells, not saying that if you eat crazily they're going to disappear, but one change can actually make a massive difference in your body. So look at the thing. What's the thing right now that you can do that you know is going to make a difference for you, and just tackle that one thing.
Yeah. Yeah. Just replace one item with the other and just do one because it could become, if people have all or nothing thinking, then they sometimes end up doing nothing. You can just start with one goal and then implement that. And then once you got that, knock
Yep.
down another one. And yeah.
Yep.
What do you find are the biggest obstacles in people's lives that stop them from implementing any type of health strategy?
All here. It's all here. Yeah, it's the mind. It's the mind.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because, when your mind is ready, the resources come to you, the way, the path finds, you find the path. It's about making a decision. I wanna feel better. I just I wanna wake up. I wanna wake up feeling refreshed. I want a good night's sleep. You think about the significance and importance of sleep. Sleep hygiene, right? We spend a third of our life sleeping.
Mhm.
Why would our creator make us, spend a third of our life sleeping? It's because that's where the massive cleanup and regeneration happens. So, you know, starting with sleep hygiene is a big deal. And if you can do that, because a lot of us are struggling right now because we're not regenerating at night. And there's lots of reasons why we're not doing it, from the substances we ingest to the entertainment and information we ingest, uh, to the environmental toxins, including EMF, that we're exposed to. So if you can just clean up your sleep, you'll be amazed at how life can shift
Mm,
in so many ways.
mhm. And you talked about the blood, the how does someone go about testing their blood to see where it's at
Mhm.
and how they can improve the testing results
Yeah.
after they implement some of the strategies that you have?
Well, I personally work with live blood analysis, which is very different than the tests you actually get from the doctor.
Yeah.
So what the live blood is really showing people is what your terrain looks like in your body. So this is, the significance of having clean blood, blood that's, not toxic, beautiful red blood cells that have really solid walls. What I'm seeing a lot right now in the blood is a lot of parasitized red blood cells. So the hemoglobin, the parasites are just eating and feasting off the hemoglobin. And if you have that happening in your blood, um, you're not going to have energy. You're not going to have mental clarity. So we're seeing all different kinds of things, funguses and molds, overgrowth from a, candida diet. That's, we're seeing lots of, and we're also seeing some really bizarre things, environmental things, that people are not just injecting into or have injected into their body, but things they're actually eating, where they're putting nanotechnology in our food. They've been doing that for decades, right? So in the 90s, when I was actually studying
Brutal.
nutrition, they were talking about nanotechnology. In fact, in Australia, they had a coating that they used to put on the Mars bars, the candy bars,
That's my favorite chocolate bar.
nanotechnology. Yeah, yeah, so that it didn't
Brutal.
melt in the hot milk bars, in convenience stores in Australia. And I remember, one of my lecturers at university, I was saying, like, this is not a good thing, like, because they were promoting it as a great thing. And he
Oh
said,
my.
"It's nanotechnology. It's so tiny, it's not making a difference." I said, "Well, if it's not making a difference, how is it stopping a chocolate bar from melting in 40-degree heat?"
Yeah, 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 yeah. Unbelievable.
Yeah. So
Oh,
there's things that we're using now, and even health supplements with nanotechnology that are crossing the blood-brain barrier, that in a natural environment we were never intended. There was a really good reason we have a blood-brain barrier, right? And although we have now parasites and polysorbate 80 and things like that that are designed to penetrate the blood-brain barrier, I'm not necessarily convinced that nanotechnology is the antidote to that. I truly believe that if we actually stop the poisoning, start the nourishing, and we
yeah.
give the body everything it needs, it will be the most powerful self-healing tool.
When you say nanotechnology and blood-brain barrier, could you go deeper into what exactly nanotechnology is and blood-brain barrier, what those two things are?
Yeah, so nanotechnology, if you think of the thickness of the average hair,
Yeah.
okay?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So, nanotechnology, and forgive me because I studied this in the '90s and I haven't actually spoke about it, but it's like 1/1400th
Yeah,
of the thickness of a human
very
hair. You can
tiny.
never see it, even with my high-powered microscope that looks at the blood, you couldn't see nanotechnology in it. It's so, so tiny that it's designed to go into places in the body that a natural substance would never be able to enter,
Mhm.
right? So, and don't get me wrong, people are claiming to have miraculous turnaround with nanotechnology as far as healing goes. It's like someone I was on a podcast being interviewed, and a doctor challenged my views on ivermectin. She said, people are having miraculous healing from ivermectin, and fenbendazole and that kind of thing. And I said, I don't I don't doubt that people are having their cancers reversed by it. Just like chemo can come and wipe out, the cancer cells, it can wipe out a lot of good things. Ivermectin can clean out the cancer, but it's going to wipe out a lot of the good things too. And I said, I've also seen absolutely miraculous turnarounds with people using 100% natural methods,
Yeah,
and using the mind. Look at Dr. Joe Dispenza's work,
that's what we're
so
made.
it
We're
yeah,
made we're made to do all, like, and the food was made to help us do this, and everything that
yeah,
is intrinsically human was made to be able to do this. Yeah.
yes, but here's the difference, and it goes into the popping pill path,
Yeah.
protocol, is one involves us just taking a pill, the other
Yeah.
involves us taking action, making behavioral changes. And I understand if you have, like, stage 4 and, the allopathic system's given up on you, I understand being highly motivated to take anything you think is going to help.
Yeah.
But here's the thing, you take that pill, and then you have to deal with the side effects. And again, I keep going to, if you don't deal with the cause,
Mhm.
it's
Mhm.
likely to come back or express that disease gets expressed in a different way in the body. So the natural path, I refer to it as the enemy's kind of plan and the
Mhm.
creator's plan, right?
Yeah.
The enemy's plan is it's everything is made very complex, but the solution is
Yeah.
super easy to implement, right? Just take the
Yeah.
pill. The creator's plan is incredibly simple, but it requires effort and self-responsibility. So you can understand that's a very hard thing to
That's
market to
bad. That's, like,
patients.
really bad self-responsibility,
Yeah,
accountability, and looking
yeah,
after your own, like, I don't know, that's, like,
yeah,
yeah.
and there's not a lot of money to be made, from this one compared to
Yeah.
this one, right?
That's scary, self-responsibility and accountability, and
Yeah,
for your own actions and what you do.
yeah,
Yeah, that's
and here's the thing, in defense of us humans, our natural proclivity, our natural, survival mechanism in nature, in a totally natural environment, is to find the quickest, fastest, easiest route, right? In nature, that works for us. In the supermarket, it works against us. In the enemy system, it works against us, right? So
Yeah.
our desire to find the most convenient thing, which is natural, our desire in nature for the most addictive thing actually worked for us in nature. And those things have actually been hijacked in the enemy system to find the quickest, easiest route. Well, that I can get, I can just basically push a button here and I can get a week's food delivered without lifting a finger. You can't
Mm-hmm.
do that in nature, right?
No,
And
yeah.
so it's being hijacked and used against us. And our job is to, in a sense, it's the thing that comes up in my head is escape that matrix, that way.
Return to food. Return to
Yeah,
food.
return to food. Halfway back is the way forward.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's so it's yeah, it's so simple, but yeah, people have made it way, way too complex, and then they make a lot of money off people. You can't, like I say, you can't make money off people that are like healthy and alive and can do everything for themselves and do, which is sad. But
You
oh,
can, just you make it in different areas, right?
yeah,
It's just
boom, yeah.
yeah, yeah, but,
Not selling them poison, not the drug dealer selling them poison that makes them depressed and full of stress, and they sell them things that are going to be actually good for them. Yeah,
yeah, and when people are sick and they're fearful because they've got a, serious diagnosis or they're losing their health, they're easy to control. They're easy to persuade to buy this or do this, rather
yeah.
than taking the time to clean out and get centered and listen to their body and take the right action for them.
Mhm. There's a At the gym the other day, I was talking to this guy. It totally resonated me with he said it. It's like, I know how my body works because I'm the guy living inside my body, so I kinda know how it
Yeah,
works.
yeah.
Yeah.
And one of the distinctions I'll make on that is I remember doing a presentation in Australia talking about listening to our body, and this woman pipes up, and she was definitely morbidly obese, and you could see she had some health issues. And she said, "Yeah, I know. I was listening to my body this morning, and I just knew I needed a spa and a couch."
That's a
And
good
I was like,
accent. Holy crap, yeah.
"Well, that's for Canadian." Canadian
Yeah.
ears, that might be a good one for the Australians. If there's any Australians listening, they're probably cringing. But
Mars bar and a
I
Coke,
did
yeah.
say, our body is always communicating to us, but there's a difference between the messages of addiction and
Mhm.
the messages of what
Well,
your body actually needs.
it's so again, simple. Like, you know what's good and you know what's bad, usually know what's right, but again, yeah, they're so programmed that, yeah, Coke and a Mars bar and a bag of chips is what I need right now that's gonna make me feel better,
Yeah.
which that's kinda what you're dealing with on a regular basis, and it's tough to, and you can't do anything with, again, people have to be ready, like you say, they have to be ready, they have to be willing, they have to have a strong enough purpose and a strong enough why as to why they
Yes.
would wanna go about on this path of becoming a better human being and actually living, like, really living while you're living. Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah, and Mike, with Sweet Freedom, we do a lot around finding your why, finding meaning and purpose. But in fairness to a lot of people, the last few years have been so, so difficult. Like for me, in a space of 18 months, I lost both my parents, my
Yeah,
best
yeah.
friend, 31 years, and access to a little girl I'd helped raise since she was a month old. And I can tell you, Mike, I had a lot of difficulty coming back from that and finding my why, getting back to finding my why. And I know during that time I self-soothed, with
Yeah.
food and coffee
Yep,
and, things that
yep.
weren't serving my body. Yeah.
Yeah,
And
yep.
so and so we have a lot of people who are like, I'm doing this act of rebellion and resistance to not take the shot. But one of the most powerful acts of resistance you can do is to start taking your body and stop going through the drive-through and stop. So that is like if you wanna stick it to the man kind of thing, the engine, the beast, the enemy,
Yeah,
take care of yourself. Yeah,
yeah,
that is the best act of rebellion and resistance. And
yeah.
from that, when we are taking that act and taking our power back and getting the mental clarity back and getting stronger, we become way more powerful to resist all the things that are being thrown at us.
You just hit the nail on the head here. Yeah, if someone wants to do the biggest act of rebellion, be the best possible human you can be and get yourself healthy and all the different, the
Yeah.
biggest act of rebellion anybody, and you're not doing anything wrong because you're just building yourself up, and they can't do anything if you're just like actually taking responsibility for yourself. You're not like going against anybody else. It's just like this is what if everybody did that, and that's what everybody should do. That's what everybody should do, definitely. And
Yeah.
it's not an easy task because of
No, and it's an act of rebellion, based out of love, self-love, right?
Mhm.
That's if we can actually get back to that piece that our decisions, that act of rebellion is based out of self-love as opposed to retribution or sticking it to the man kind of thing, that no, I'm
Yeah,
not doing it for that reason. I'm actually doing it because I am so grateful for this incredible vessel I've been given in this incredible life. And if you're lucky enough to have children and family, I'm so grateful, to
yeah.
be around for them and to be a source of inspiration and guidance and protection for them. That's a way more powerful,
That's how you
way.
draw it all in. That's the manifesting in the subconscious mind. That's how you when you're grateful and thankful for everything that you have in your life,
Yeah.
because yeah, that's how it yeah. So that's the best way to go about doing it, definitely. Being thankful and grateful with a loving connecting your loving heart and mind and spirit all together as one, then you get in the yeah,
Yeah,
definitely.
it's a beautiful loop.
Yeah, if yeah, that's the goal for every human being on the planet. Starting with each individual on their own accord, and then Sherry can help you out because she's gone through the whole kit and caboodle of, and she knows everything as much as possible. So not everything, because no one can know everything, but she has a pretty good knowledge base on what food does to energy and all that kind of good stuff. So how can people get a hold of you, Sherry, if they want to get a hold of
Um,
you?
yeah, best way is sherry@sherrystrong.com. So it's, spelt just like the drink sherry, like think of a strong sherry and reverse it, sherry@sherrystrong.com. Send me an email, let me know, how I can help. What's keeping you up at night? What are you struggling with? And email me even if you're just ready to take one step. If you're
Yeah,
ready to take one step, I can help and work with you. But I'm not the pill potion, easy path person to
yeah,
connect with. Yeah.
not the quick fix. Yeah, the quick fix is never the path to take. Never.
I'm in for the long term to help people. And also I'm not great at having dependence. I want to get you healthy, and
Yeah,
independent, so that you can actually teach other people and you can inspire and teach other people because we
that's
need a
key.
lot of people doing this, not just
Yeah.
me.
Yeah, that's how you spread that's exactly what you're supposed to do. Learn
Yeah.
the yeah. Teach the what's the fish story, Sherry? Where you
Yeah, give a man a fish, he will eat for a day. Teach a man to fish, and he'll eat for life. And
yeah,
that is my exact philosophy. I wanna teach you how to feed and live in a way that's gonna make you powerful and inspire other people to do the same.
cool. Well, it was a great pleasure speaking with you, Sherry, here today. It was awesome. And I'm totally into it, everything you're doing, because that's kind of what we're supposed to do. That's what I believe humans should be. And if if human beings can like understand how the relationship with food and their
Mhm.
addictions to like non-food chemicals, then you can get addicted to real food and the actual energy lift that they get from that and mind clarity and then connection to source and their emotions and their spirit and their mental health. And then it snowballs into relationships. The relationships get everything just gets better once you
Yeah,
start looking after yourself. And it does start with what you put into your body.
yeah,
Definitely.
yeah. And what you teach, how you move your body too.
Yeah. Oh yeah. 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 That definitely helps. So thank you, Sherry. And yeah, if you want to get with Sherry, email her down here, Sherry@sherrystrong.com. We got that right, Sherry? Yeah.
You got it right. Yeah, thank you.
And what
Thanks, Mike.
social media handles can they, if they wanted to get you on social media, where are you at?
So Sherry Strong 1 on Instagram, though I'm about to do another. I just have been off of social media pretty much for 3.5 years. And you can find me at Facebook under Food Philosopher. So Sherry, it's not, you'll find Sherry Strong under the hashtag Food Philosopher. Yeah.
Cool. You'll be able to find her if you're looking for her. She's right. Yeah. Cool, Sherry. I appreciate this. And you have yourself a lovely rest of your day.
Thank
Go Riders in the Grey Cup too.
you so much for inviting me, Mike. I appreciate it.